Okay, November 21st, Sunday, Q&A session. Question number 1. How about a teaching that is aspirational yet practical approach to stream entry? Or if stream entry is too rigid of a topic, then how about talking about path and fruition? Thank you. So, practical approach to stream entry. I think the practical approach to stream entry would be keep the precepts, practice every day. Study the Dhamma. Definitely keeping the precepts. Ordaining can be quite a practical approach. And aspirational. But not everyone can do that. Ordination isn't for everyone. Sometimes it's just meeting great teachers or hearing the true Dhamma, just seeking out teachers in situations that'll help us to develop faith. So these things come about through faith. I think stream entry is, if we talk about stream entry, it can be a bit obscure. But the Buddha did talk about if one has sufficient faith in Buddha Dhamma Sangha and in the practice, and then virtue is dear to the noble ones, and one is well established in virtue. Or you could think of stream entry as the mind is no longer in the stream of the world, meaning it's no longer magnetized into the world. It's magnetized into the Dhamma. So it might still have worldly perceptions, but they don't take hold. Might still have worldly thoughts, but they don't sweep you away. Or to not believe them or follow them. I kind of, in terms of a practical approach, but I don't think it's that helpful to think in terms of the word stream entry. That's something Longpo Cha seemed to shy away from. Because if we think in terms of the word stream entry, then it's me becoming something. So, and then stream entry, what it really is it's starting to unravel that whole world of becoming. So there can be a shift when we practice for a long time. There can be this shift of when we begin to practice, it's about becoming somebody, it's about becoming a good practitioner, it's about becoming a stream enterer. It's about becoming an arhat, it's about becoming a bodhisattva, it's about becoming a better person. It's about becoming someone who's enlightened. So once we run up against that a lot and we start to see that it's not about becoming something or someone, but it's calling into question the very nature of becoming, then it's more about renunciation and more about insight into the present moment. And most certainly that's what the Buddha has to be referring to in the suttas when he talks about stream entry. But because of the way we habitually hold things, we hear these teachings and we think, I have to become that. I'm not a stream enterer right now, and I have to become a stream enterer. So I think it makes sense that Longpo Cha didn't really use those words so much or talk about that so much, but just talked about practice and letting go. And he talked about the nuts and bolts of meditation practice. And it comes from the four requisites contemplations, the way we relate, mindfulness, like Lungpa was talking about earlier, just coming back to that sense of mindfulness with the ordinary things of daily life. In the novice ordination, the Buddha talks about the mula kammatthana, the root meditation objects, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin. And those ordinary things, just contemplating those ordinary things is really what leads to liberation. It's kind of strange to think like that. I think like, well, liberation must come from something really extraordinary, but it comes from gaining insight into these ordinary things that are just with us all the time. Like Dabba Malaputta, who attained arhantship at the age of 7 while his head was being shaved to take novice ordination, and he was watching the hair fall on the ground and contemplated hair, and through contemplating the hair he saw impermanence, gained insight into impermanence, and attained arhantship then and there, and lived his life as an arhant since the age of 7. Question 2, I was investigating, and it seems like the body still wants to breathe to continue the life of the body sankharas. Could the Venerable Ones speak more to this, please? Thanks for everything. Yes, the body does want to keep breathing. It does want to stay alive. It seems to be hardwired into our system that even if we forget about breathing, even if we aren't mindful of it, the body keeps breathing. Even if we're sleeping, the body keeps breathing. So when we breathe, it's focusing on something or tapping into something that's always there, always going to be there as long as we're alive. Yeah, the body, it's definitely seems to want to keep persisting, keep staying alive. You know, even if we become very depressed, then the body keeps breathing. So I suppose that could be a contemplation of sorts, that the body just keeps going, keeps breathing, whether we want it to or not. It just does that. Question 3. I am not able to ordain, but would like to dedicate my life to the Dhamma. I have lived by 5 precepts for decades, but wonder if you can talk about taking 8 precepts as a layperson and how possible/difficult that would be. Should one go to a monastery to take the 8 precepts? Whether you should become an 8-precept layperson or not really depends on your personal situation. Certainly in the monastery, all the lay people staying here keep the 8 precepts, and this is an 8-precept retreat, this online retreat. And I do know many lay people who have taken on lifetime 8 precepts. It really depends on your situation. If it's going to mess with your family life or cause you to not be able to have dinner with your parents or whatever, it could be like unbeneficial, depending on what situation you're in. But if you're able to, then it could be very beneficial. If you're in a situation where you're able to practice, and I know someone who's quite close to us who's taken lifetime 8 precepts with Luang Por Liam. It is helpful to take it with an Ajahn or with a teacher. In my opinion, a monastic teacher would be ideal, because then anytime you have difficulty keeping the 8 precepts, you can always go to that teacher and discuss it and modify if needed. So I do know people who have taken on lifetime 8 precepts, even couples who have taken on lifetime 8 precepts. And if you're not able to ordain, you can find various ways to help out, whether it's helping out with monasteries or book publications. I know there's a couple who's very ardent practitioners in Thailand, and he goes around offering cleft palate fixing surgeries to the poorest parts of Thailand, and also looks after royal katinas in Thailand. And then she does book publications, and they're both very ardent in their Dhamma work. And they're both, I'm not sure if they're on the 8 precepts, but certainly they're quite strict with their practice. And this particular guy that I know, to make merit for his mother, he built an entire monastery and offered it to Ajahn Mahabua's Sangha to make merit for his mother. And then he ended up temporarily ordaining there, and he was quite ardent in his practice, but he wasn't able to stay as a monk. He still had lay matters that he had to look after. But certainly his heart is with the Dhamma. That perhaps harkens back to the practical aspect of moving towards stream entry. Just doing whatever we can in the moment, like keeping our eyes open, keep looking around. How can we practice? How can we help out? Also with all these things, I could maybe fold this into the first 3 questions, actually. You'll see people who have been practicing or gained some insight into the Dhamma. There's this incredible humility there. Incredible humility and a sense of not making problems out of things. Very, very easy to get along with, generally. And a sense of relinquishment and sacrifice, generosity. But the humility really shines forth for people who have been practicing for a long time and had some sort of insight into the Dhamma. And this is that whole idea of trying to be someone or be something. And if there's that humility is not really going to be there. So, there's a few instances where I know it was like somebody has a big sort of enlightenment experience, and they become very puffed up about it. It might be some sort of experience of light or some sort of deep meditation experience, and sometimes it'll get interpreted as stream entry, and now I'm a stream enterer. And I remember somebody getting told that, I liked you better before you were a stream enterer. Because what that meant in that for this situation was, it meant they were less open to feedback. They were less open to other people's ideas. It was just like, they have it, so they're no longer open. So that's not what we're looking for. And it's a big danger. That's a big danger, big pitfall. And you don't want to go there. We always want to remain open and humble. That's the qualities we're looking for with the Dhamma. Dear Ajahn, in this morning's puja, we chanted the reflection on the four requisites. Each reflection began with the Pali word yoniso, which is translated as wisely reflecting. This translation is almost identical to another Pali term, yoniso manasikara, which is translated as wise reflection. How does the meaning of yoniso change when manasikara is added? What does the new word mean? Thank you to everyone who is making this opportunity possible. Anumodana. Well, I think it's the same yoniso, patisankha yoniso, and then yoniso manasikara. So that yoniso, I'm not a Pali scholar, but the yoniso, yoni comes from the word for womb. Yoni is the womb in Pali. And so it's the birthplace or the patisankha yoni, so we say wisely reflecting. These thoughts give rise to wholesome qualities. This is the birthplace of wholesome qualities. Manasikara, mana is like mind.
Manasikara is like attention.
Attention. Manasikara, attention. Yoniso manasikara, wise attention, wholesome attention. So it's translated as wise reflection, wise attention. So pretty much the same thing. The Buddha used different words to slightly do like different emphasis with different things. And with both of those terms, it's wise reflection leading to skillful and wholesome mental states, and finding the proper way to relate to things. So with the four requisites, then the proper way to relate to them, we reflect on them, what they are, how are we relating to them. Is there some sort of unwholesome or unskillful attachment to them? If so, can we relinquish that? There's yoniso manasikara, which is wise reflection, skillful reflection, skillful attention. Then there's its opposite, which is ayoniso manasikara, which is unwise reflection or unskillful attention. And yoniso manasikara is a quality which leads to other skillful qualities. So there can be wise attention to different meditation objects, different signs. So if we do wise attention to those mula kammatthana, for example, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin, then they can lead to a cooling down of the heart, cooling down of craving and passion. But if we unskillfully attend to those things, if we have ayoniso manasikara toward hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, and skin, then it can lead to anger, irritation, annoyance. That would be an unskillful use of attention toward those things, or dejection, sadness. Or if we reflect on those things and become enamored with them, and that would also be ayoniso manasikara, that would be reflecting on those things in order to increase passion, increase craving. So yoniso manasikara, it's any way that we use our attention, we pay attention in a way that leads to viraga, which is the dispassion. And in a way, Patisankha yoniso, what we did this morning, that also is for leading to dispassion. Like with food, for example, the Ajahns in the old days in Thailand, in the time of Ajahn Mun, would talk about just treat your stomach as like a container that you fill it up just enough. You don't overfill it. You just relate to it in a very ordinary way. And I thought of a little analogy for this too, for how to relate to food. Is what came to mind is it's like when we fill up the gas tank sometimes with the car. So like you're filling the gas, and then it automatically stops when the gas tank is full. But then we sort of like squeeze the handle 5 more times and kind of get those last drops in there. So like letting the gas tank fill up and it stopping naturally, that's like eating the right amount. And then like squeezing that gas thing 5 more times to kind of overfill it, that's like overeating. So we need to just kind of like leave it. Once it stops the first time, it's okay. It's enough. One reflection that can lead to as well is there's the 6 sense bases: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And the attention is always going out of those 6 sense bases. It's always landing somewhere. So something that yoniso manasikara can actually lead to is what's directing the attention? What is directing how our attention is placed? So we might, for example, be attending to the breath, feeling the breath going in and out of the nostrils. And then the attention goes somewhere else. So why is that? What's directing that? What actually directed that attention? So there's something happening in the background which remains unseen, and yoniso manasikara can help us to see that. That's the craving, the becoming. It's very, very subtle, and it's very under the surface or in the background. So the mindfulness that Longpo Pasano was talking about earlier today, that mindfulness can help us to see that. Because once our attention gets pulled away from our meditation object, we might feel, that's not good. I'm not meditating properly. This keeps happening. It can lead to a sense of frustration. So it's good to actually start to see what's behind that movement of attention. Yeah, what's behind the movement of attention? It could be a lack of mindfulness. It could be a lack of seeing clearly, a lack of wisdom. So we need to really reflect on things and develop these things. It's not just about staying on the meditation object, but it is about yoniso manasikara. It's about wisely reflecting, using our reflective abilities, our thought abilities skillfully. When we say reflecting, we mean turning it back on ourselves, not necessarily just intellectualizing the teachings, but reflecting, meaning like we're looking in a mirror, that we're using the Dhamma to see ourselves. So we're using the Four Noble Truths to see ourselves. How am I experiencing dukkha? How am I experiencing the cause of dukkha? How am I experiencing cessation of dukkha? How am I experiencing the path? What are these things in a very practical and applied way? So wise reflection can also lead to faith, because faith, when we talk about faith in Buddhism, it's a sense of confidence. And when someone, say, opens the eye of Dhamma, or which is also a synonym for entering the stream of Dhamma, the Buddha talks about confirmed confidence. So there's faith or confidence, but then it's confirmed confidence. And when we meet people who have confirmed confidence in the Dhamma, then that can help to bolster up our own bright faith, which can in turn lead to states of confidence, well-being, and happiness, which can in turn help the mind to settle more. That's really all I have for the Q&A session. It's only just past 4 p.m., but people can keep sitting if they want, or we can break until the 4:30 Qigong. If you do come for the Qigong, please come slightly early so we can get started on time. Get started on time.